For as long as I can remember, we had an old vintage Parker Brothers Ouija board sitting in our closet, gathering dust. When I was a kid, I always wondered what it was. From the box, it just looked like some creepy old board game. But one day, I finally learned what a Ouija board really was, and immediately dug it out. I begged my brother to try it with me, and after a while he gave in. We put our hands on the planchette, and I started asking the usual cliché questions like, "Is anybody there?" and "Can you answer me?" Other than my brother jokingly sliding the planchette around to fake answers, nothing actually happened. Bored, we put it back in the box. That night I went online to find out how people make Ouija boards work. Almost everyone said the best way was in a dark room, lit only by candles. So one evening when our parents weren't home, I gathered 6 or 7 candles and convinced my brother to try again. I lit the candles and set them around the dining room table, turning off all the lights. We put our hands back on the planchette. I asked again if anyone was there, and this time it started moving. I snapped at my brother to stop moving it, but he swore he wasn't. I told him to take his hand off, and he did. It still kept sliding. My brother thought I was pranking him, but I ignored him. The planchette landed on the word, "yes." I was only 9 and I was terrified. My older brother took over and asked, "Are you a good spirit?" There was a long 5-second pause before the planchette moved to "no." We looked at each other frozen. I bolted to my room and slammed the door, but my brother kept playing. I could hear his muffled voice from the dining room, until suddenly he screamed at the top of his lungs. I ran back downstairs. He was holding up his shirt, showing a small open scratch on his skin that looked like a claw mark. He told me to start the fireplace right away. I did. He threw the board into the flames and told me never to talk about it again. We've never touched a Ouija board since. A while later, I got a call from my cousin. He said his brother, his dad, and his best friend had been using a Ouija board in their basement. Before starting, they moved a large porcelain doll out of the room because it was creepy, laying it face down on a pile of towels in the next room. My cousin left for a bathroom break while the others kept playing. They asked the board who was in the other room. It started spitting out random numbers. When my cousin came back, his brother said the board wasn't working and showed him the last answer it gave. It was my cousin's social security number. They kept asking questions, and whatever was answering told my cousin he would die in the Air Force. They demanded it prove itself. The board then spelled DA, and they all got a bad feeling. They opened the door to check on the porcelain doll. It was now standing upright in front of the door, staring at them. Everyone freaked out and ran out of the house. My cousin's best friend burned the Ouija board and ended up having a breakdown for a few months. And strangely enough, my cousin later did join the Air Force. He's now stationed on a base in Europe. One night, I had a few friends over and we decided to mess around with a Ouija board we'd found in someone's trash. It still had the board and the little glass piece you're supposed to hold onto. The 4 of us put our fingers on the glass and started asking dumb questions, just goofing off. Someone was always sliding the piece around to freak the others out. But when one friend went to the bathroom and another got bored, it was just me and one other friend still holding onto it. I asked the board when I would die. The piece slowly moved to the letter T. I stared at my friend, sure it was him, but he said he thought it was me. Then it went to O, then M, then back to O, and then R. I realized it was spelling TOORW. My friend laughed nervously, and the piece stopped moving. I was convinced he was messing with me, but he swore up and down he wasn't. The next day, I was walking my dog at the preserve when his collar suddenly snapped. He bolted into the road. I chased after him, only to hear the horn of an oncoming car blaring louder and louder. I jumped out of the way at the last second, just grazing the car with my foot. But it didn't end there. That same day, I was sitting in the kitchen under the ceiling fan, which was spinning on full blast. I got up to grab something from the fridge when a loud crash exploded behind me. Every glass on the table shattered and fell to the floor. The fan had dropped straight from the ceiling. I was inches from being decapitated. I don't know if it was coincidence, but the day after the board said I'd die, tomorrow, I had 2 near-death experiences. All I know is I'm never touching a Ouija board again. We had a big closet full of old board games, and one of them happened to be a Ouija board. I'd always wanted to try it, but my family was always home and I felt weird doing it in front of them. Then one weekend my parents went to the city, and my brother went on a Boy Scout campout. I had the whole house to myself. I know it sounds pathetic, but I was more excited to try a Ouija board alone than throw a party. The weather was terrible, windy and rainy, but I figured a stormy night would make it feel more real. Around midnight I set up the board in the dining room and dimmed the lights. I asked a bunch of questions but got no answers, so I eventually put it away and went to bed. Sometime later, I woke up to the sound of creaking downstairs near the front door. At first, I ignored it. Then I heard it again, closer this time. Another creak now on the stairs. My heart was pounding. This was before cell phones were common, so calling the police wasn't even an option. The sounds kept coming, closer and closer, until they were right outside my bedroom door. And then they stopped. It felt like hours lying there, clutching my covers. A huge flash of lightning lit up my room for a split second, and I swore I saw something. Long, black limbs curling around my open door. I held my breath, trying not to make a sound. Then my door slammed shut. All the windows were closed, no draft, no reason. I stayed under the covers shaking and crying for hours, sure something was in the room with me. When the sun finally rose, I peeked out. My room was empty. Somehow, I found the courage to leave my bedroom and search the house. Everything looked normal. No broken windows, no unlocked doors. But then I saw the Ouija board still sitting on the table. I'm superstitious, so I immediately blamed it for what happened. I grabbed it, chucked it in the outside trash, and dragged the can to the curb. Since then, nothing weird has happened. I've never told anyone until now. Unless you've been in that situation, you can't understand. Nobody would believe it, and I can tell you from personal experience, messing with a Ouija board is a huge mistake. In the summer of 2013, my friend had a vintage Ouija board supposedly worth good money. He traded it to me for a video game I never played. I mainly wanted it to sell later. I tried using it alone, but nothing happened. I tossed it on my living room floor and forgot about it. The next morning, both plants on my coffee table had been knocked over, and the Ouija board was sitting neatly on the table. I didn't remember putting it there, and there was no way wind could have done it. I wondered if maybe I'd sleepwalked or bumped into them half asleep. I cleaned up the mess and brought the box upstairs to my room. That night, lying awake in the dark, I heard a muffled click. I looked up confused, then noticed my closet light was on. I had no idea how it turned on, but I got up, opened the closet, and shut the light off. There was nobody there. I jumped back into bed. 10 minutes later, I heard the same click. I looked over, and the closet light was back on. My stomach dropped. I turned it off again and got back in bed, trying to stay calm. I waited for it to happen again, but instead, something worse did. The closet light stayed off, but my whole room suddenly lit up as the main switch flicked on by itself. That was it. I bolted out the door. I grabbed that old Ouija board and dumped it in the closest dumpster. After that, nothing strange ever happened again.